all and thanks for joining us on yet another edition of Presidential Activities. We make our first stop in South Africa, where President Jacob Zuma said the government wants to expedite a radical economic transformation. He has suggested that the engagement with business, government and labor could be a regular feature in a bid to help transform the nation's economy. Let's listen to this report.
They are meeting under one roof, government, business and labor, to improve the state of the country's economy. And all agree something must be done to transform the economy. The president says different approach is needed.
As we begin a new phase of economic recovery, we have to make sure we take everyone along. We have to rework and shape and sharpen our transformation model, and more importantly, demonstrate commitment and empathy.
It's the second meeting of this nature ahead of the State of the Nation address. He says more are on the cards.
We have, I think, agreed that we needed to have more of such interaction so that we can begin to narrow the gap and have a common narrative about our country. This is what I think we believe is important. As South Africa, we should keep on talking where we see things differently, engage among ourselves and try to close the gaps. So we are very happy. I think it has been an important interaction. You might see more of this.
And business is on board.
It was an open discussion, but in the end, I think the president summed it up well, that there's one South Africa, one economy, and as business, we agree that we've got to work together.
Team South Africa, when we work together, there is no problem too big for us to handle. Let's use that same spirit and build on the successes of last year. There are bigger challenges ahead of us. Not the least is the issue of inclusive growth, underlying inclusive, and indeed economic transformation.
President Zuma will probably use some of the input from such a meeting when he delivers his address on Thursday.
Still in South Africa, President Jacob Zuma on Tuesday, the 7th of February 2017, hosted a pre-Sona business investor luncheon in Cape Town. The session was attended by business leaders and leaders from organized labor. Let's listen to SABC News.
We have considered it prudent that we get together again in this manner, because we can only succeed as a nation if we work together. We meet this year under improved conditions economically, following a period of low economic growth in the last few years. Prospects have improved for the years ahead. Improved commodity prices and stronger global growth should encourage both investment and employment and provide necessary support for exports. Agriculture is expected to recover following improved weather conditions. We used to rely on government to absorb the unemployed. The public service is also facing pressure. A most important challenge we need to confront head-on this year is the scale of inequality and exclusion in this country. It needs urgent action. We should never rest until the vision for a better life for all is realized, all of us, as labor, business, and community sector and government. One of the key issues we discussed the last time was the need to remove obstacles.
And now in
to doing
Uganda,
business.
President Yoweri Museveni has warned members of the NRM caucus against using the East African Legislative Assembly, that is ELA, as a hub for employment opportunities. Museveni challenged the members of parliament who are the electoral college of the East African Assembly elections to vote leaders who understand the need for integration.
At least 109 candidates from all political parties and independents picked express of interest forms to represent Uganda at the regional parliament. 38 of these are from the ruling NRM party. The statistics are unprecedented, which has raised eyebrows on a surge of numbers as an indication of seeking employment and not service. But when President Yoweri Museveni spoke, he cautioned against what he called employment seekers in the East African Legislative Assembly.
These elections are not just elections. These are not employment bureaus. You are not here to give jobs to jobless people. You are here to select people to support the integration of East Africa.
Museveni's address comes weeks after the African Union elected its leadership, where East Africans lost all slots where the region fielded candidates. The most prominent of them was Kenya's Foreign Affairs Minister, Amina Mohamed.
Recently, we had elections in Addis Ababa, and I saw people talking about this one was not elected, this one, but we are not, the purpose is not to elect people. That's really an implementation exercise. The bigger effort is to know what is involved in integration.
Museveni spoke to the over 280 caucus members of parliament and leaning independents who attended the caucus, although they won't vote, Yala contestants, SEC members, and ex-officials like ministers.
Those who stood down will not be given chance to talk about themselves because we are now going to listen to only candidates.
President Yoweri Museveni spoke of the need for a united East Africa as it would increase the region's bargaining power.
If you have the big market of East Africa, 170 million people now, including South Sudan, you do not only support the prosperity of the Ugandans, it is easier for you to negotiate with the other bigger markets, like China. If you go to negotiate with China, you go as Uganda. The Chinese president will treat you very courteously, excellency, all those gun salute and all that. But then he will ask you, how many buyers do you have?
Let's make a next stop in Kenya, where Germany has pledged 170.8 billion Kenyan shillings to finance a key project in energy, security, agriculture, education, and water sectors. The two governments signed an agreement during the bilateral talks between President of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, and his German counterpart, German Chancellor Angela Merkel. Kenyatta also met the German business community while in Germany. Let's listen to this report.
Business regulatory framework, new laws that we have passed, new company laws, new insolvency laws, all aimed at making it easier to do business in Kenya. We are reducing the number of licenses required and reducing the red tape and the bureaucracy that has previously been a hindrance. Our workforce, as has already been mentioned, is a skilled workforce, is a productive workforce, and ultimately, I believe, a very experienced workforce. We acknowledge that there are some areas where we are weak, and that's one of the areas that we ourselves are looking to further expand and enhance, especially more on the technical side, but I want to assure you Kenyans are very quick learners. one of the issues that we will be focusing on during our visit is to see how we can practically partner with the German government, with German companies to expand our own vocational and technical training in order to be able to enhance the skills and the capacity of our people.
Mr. President, you have been constantly working on tackling terrorism in your country in the past. Security issues and overboarding bureaucracy impede business development. Furthermore, Kenya suffers from a high unemployment rate among young people, as Mr. Dreyer already mentioned. In order to create jobs, industrialization has to be improved. Transport and energy supply have to be expanded. Additional investments in infrastructure will be necessary. German business might be a partner on that path.
The Republic of Germany has pledged 170.8 billion Kenyan shillings to finance key projects in the sectors of energy, security, agriculture, education, and water. The two governments signed agreements during the bilateral talks between President Uhuru Kenyatta and his host, Germany Chancellor Angela Merkel. On matters corruption, Uhuru admitted that the country has been faced with massive graft scandals, insisting that the country has adopted e-procurement as strategies to stem graft in public sector.
We are tackling corruption, and this is something that we are not brushing under the carpet. We acknowledge that corruption has been a problem in Kenya, but we are tackling this thing head-on with a view also of ensuring that we are better able to manage our economy and also make our economy less prone to bureaucratic red tape. This is why we are digitizing a lot of the services that we are offering.
Uhuru is expected to tour the Industrial and Technology Park and the Parliament of Germany, where President Uhuru Kenyatta is expected to lobby for funding, given that the country has been a beneficiary of several grants from the Republic of Germany.
Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas on Tuesday called a new Israeli law legalizing dozens of Jewish outposts built on private Palestinian land as attack against our people in court.
Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas on Tuesday called a new Israeli law legalizing dozens of Jewish outposts built on private Palestinian land an attack against our people. Israel has faced broad international criticism over the law its parliament passed on Monday, including from Britain, France, the United Nations and neighboring Jordan. The United States has not commented. Abbas said the law was illegal and was obviously against the wishes of the international community. Speaking alongside Abbas at a press conference in Paris, French President François Hollande said, "I want to believe that Israel and its government will reconsider this law." The legislation would legalize dozens of wildcat Jewish outposts and thousands of settler homes in the occupied West Bank and prompted a call by the Palestinians for the international community to punish Israel. Pro-Palestinian Israeli NGOs said they would ask the Supreme Court to strike down the law. Israeli opposition leader Isaac Herzog warned the legislation could result in officials being called before the International Criminal Court.
Finally, in the United States of America, President Donald Trump has criticized the U.S. media for its coverage of terror attacks.
President Donald Trump lashing out at his favorite punching bag, the media, this time for its coverage, or lack thereof, of terror attacks.
It's gotten to a point where it's not even being reported. And in many cases, the very, very dishonest press doesn't want to report it.
When pushed for specifics, his press secretary couldn't cite any incident that had been ignored by the media. Rather, he said it was a case of underreporting.
Members of the media don't always cover some of those events to the extent that other events might get covered. That a protest will get blown out of the water, and yet an attack or a foiled attack doesn't necessarily get the same coverage.
For example,
an American band was on stage when the gunman stormed in.
We have new video coming in. This is from outside the Bataclan Theater.
The attacks on Paris cafes and the Bataclan Theater, and in Orlando, Florida, the gunman who opened fire on the Pulse nightclub. They were on a list of 78 attacks worldwide that the administration described as underreported. The list was released after Councilor Kellyanne Conway
edition. And that's how we saw it, ladies and gentlemen, on today's edition of Presidential Activities. Don't go away, do stay on Africa Media, your #1 Pan-African television.